Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is a short take. So tonight we're going to talk about the Arizona Senate race. Now, if you guys have been paying attention, you know I'm not a fan of Kyrsten Sinema, who is a former Democrat who decided to switch to independent. I believe mostly to avoid being primaried. If she ran again as a Democrat, because the Arizona Democrats are very unhappy with her. She has literally found a way to team up with Joe Manchin to basically stymie every progressive agenda, a piece of Joe Biden's agenda that there is. So, you know, I believe that she should have been that the Arizona Democrats were going to primary her. They were especially not happy with her over the Voting Rights Act and some other key initiatives. So what we now have is Ruben Gallego, who has declared himself as the Democrat running for her seat. And I believe he's a very strong candidate. He's very popular in the House, and he's running. He has outraised her in the first quarter for donations. But there is a candidate from the GOP side already announced, and his name is Mark Lamb. And this is a guy who's very dangerous. So Mark Lamb is the sheriff of PInal County, Arizona. And, he may not eventually be the front runner on the GOP side. You know, there's rumors that Carrie Lake, Crazy Carrie, is thinking about running for the Senate. But we want to talk about Mark Lamb tonight because he's the first member of the GOP to declare a run for this seat. And I know he hasn't got the ability to raise the money the way Carrie Lake does. You know, she's got a cult following that is unbelievable. But he is what we would call and declares himself to be a constitutional sheriff. Now, I don't know if you've heard about the constitutional sheriffs. We feature them on our website at www.factivistproject.org. They sound really good. You know, when you hear the term constitutional sheriff, what you actually think is that they are there to make sure people uphold the Constitution. What the constitutional sheriffs actually are is an anti-government right-wing organization. They believe that the county sheriffs, the constitutional sheriffs, are the final word in law enforcement. They have gone on to refuse to uphold federal law, particularly gun legislation. They have threatened to deputize people if they think they're going to be forced to uphold and enforce any gun legislation that might come out of the federal government. They refused in Arizona. The constitutional sheriffs refused to enforce Doug Ducey's initial initiatives with the COVID virus. They refused to enforce mask mandates. They refused to enforce lockdowns. They basically are anti-immigrant. They love to walk around with members of the GOP on the border with their weapons out. They're often anti-Muslim. They're sometimes anti-Semitic. These guys are not okay. And I will tell you, the man who founded the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA, and a man who went around the country in 2021 touting this organization is Sheriff Richard Mack. Now, Richard Mack is also a board member of the Oath Keepers. And if you've been following anything going on with the January 6th insurrection, you know that the Oath Keepers and their current leader, Stuart Rhodes, were found guilty of seditious conspiracy for their actions and their planning of the potential overthrow of the U.S. government on January 6, 2021. These are not people who uphold the Constitution of the United States. They are an anti-government organization. Sheriff Joe the great racial profiler, was a constitutional sheriff. There are many of them. There is one now in Maryland under indictment for violating federal gun regulations. So these people are not okay, all right? They are dangers to the United States government. And we have gone, before the midterms, there were 147 people in office who were seditionists. I'm talking about people like Mo Brooks, Paul Gosar, Josh Hawley. Okay, so the midterms roll around, and yes, we held off a red wave, but the fact of the matter is that we now have 170 election deniers in office. We've gone up by 30. So the people who did win on the Republican side are MAGAs, election deniers. And that is, again, the last thing we need is people from this organization, the constitutional sheriffs, in our federal government. We have a hard enough time now. We can't even get gun laws passed now. We have had more killings, more mass killings this year than we have had days in this year. And we can't pass any legislation. To start electing these people is a disaster. I know people are out there saying, this guy's never going to win. This guy can't win. And you know what? You're probably right. But you know something? I recall in 2016, everybody saying that Donald Trump was never going to be elected. And he was. And you are looking now at the disaster that he has left behind. They're sitting in office. People like Mark Lamb, they're going to continue to infiltrate our government. The fact that they are even doing what they're doing just shows how successful they've been in infiltrating law enforcement. This is a made-up organization. It was created by a guy named Richard Mack, and I learned about Richard Mack when I started looking at a anti-COVID website. Okay, they had their constitutional sheriff on this website. The Medical Freedom website was the name of it. Was some kind of, it wasn't the whole name, but I'll actually see if I can find it and put it in. I'm pretty sure it's still out there. They had a constitutional sheriff on their website that was part of their organization, and that was Sheriff Richard Mack. And his goal was to not enforce vaccine mandates, not enforce mask mandates, and not enforce lockdowns. So I'm urgently warning you people that these guys are out there, and you're going to see them making inroads where they can. Arizona's pretty much an off-the-wall state. I know they just expelled a legislator for inviting a conspiracy theorist to testify in front of Congress, which is a good thing. We're showing a little bit of life here, that we're not going to tolerate this kind of stuff. But for every one that we can get rid of, there's others coming up. Okay? And it's important that everybody understands this. So that is my warning. Sheriff Mark Lamb, he cannot be elected, folks. Whatever it takes, it can't be Mark Lamb. And actually, it shouldn't be Carrie Lake either. She's no better. We need to start turning this thing around here. We need to start making sure that the Democrats have a majority if we're going to get out of this thing. We are on the border of fascism. This is not over yet. I will talk to you folks later. By the way, the YouTube version of this video will have all kinds of information on Sheriff Lamb and on the constitutional sheriff. So make sure you go there and look. Okay? Bye-bye.